Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're in the world. This is Tyrus Bain. Welcome to the definition of anarchy, where today I'm going to get into something that Brandon Tatum was talking about in one of his live streams. Okay, and look, this is the reason. This is the reason I'm on the Brandon Tatum's top so much, man, because he is a case study of what true hypocrisy and cognitive dissonance is in this country. All right, and that's just real shit. He is a former police officer, and he's a black conservative who's always talking about law and order, following the law, this law, that law, and but he has no idea, or he does. He has no idea what he's doing when he says all that. Because guess what? There are certain things that come before laws, right? Including, right, human rights. Human rights come before laws, right? And no vote, no politician, nothing in this earth, right? No mass shooting, right? There's nothing that can happen in this world that would make that not be the case. Human rights come before human safety, right? Public safety, I'll say. Human rights come before public safety. And that's just real shit. That is what it is. That's how it's going to be. Kids, when you grow up, who the fuck you want to be. All right? Because without that, well, what do you have? You have servitude. You have slavery. You have all the things that we're dealing with now. Oppression. That's what you got. All right? Now, why did this come up? Why am I bringing this up? Well, apparently he had an issue with someone going to a school board meeting, right? In regards to this, that, and the third, right? I think critical race theory, they have a problem with all that shit, right? Well, there's this one character that he was talking about that was making a fool out of himself, so he said, right? That was, you know, addressing the police in a particular way that he didn't like, all right? Addressing the police, talking about the Constitution. The Constitution is Constitution that, you guys, we have a Constitution, we have this, we have that, because he wanted to go into the school grounds and air out his grievances, right? But he was doing it in a way that that I guess they didn't appreciate. And so, he went viral, he got arrested. This guy got arrested, all right? Now, I don't know who this guy is. He never mentioned his name. I don't really care about that. What I care about is how Brandon Tatum kind of responded to it, what his approach was, because he started getting into these other two cats that got into I forgot what his name is. The guy the Turning Point USA guy, the guy that started that, the guy that founded Turning Point. He went to the same school board meeting, but I guess he was a little bit more diplomatic about it, all this other shit, kissing the police ass, doing this, doing that, all this shit. And Brandon Tatum felt like that was the way to go. I don't know what the guy name is. And so this is the thing. What really got me was not the fact that he had a problem with the guy going to the school board meeting, right, to air out his grievances, because the way I feel about it, there's one way to deal with the school problem, right? Because what it is it's an indoctrination program. They're indoctrinating and brainwashing your children and teaching them to be institutionalized, right? They're teaching them how to be good, oppressed, good little slaves, right? That's what they're teaching your children, right? You go to you got to be there at a certain time. You have to sit down in your goddamn chair for a certain time. It's all bullshit, right? It just is. The best way to deal with that, right? The best way to keep your children from being indoctrinated by the public school system is not to go up to the public school system who that is designed for those ways. No, it's to keep your children out of the school. That's it. Take your children out of school, homeschool your children, educate your children, right? Because the worst thing to do is to allow your enemy to educate your children. And I tell you what, if the system is oppressive and the system is tyrannical, then that is your enemy. That system is your enemy. Those teachers are your enemies. Whether they know it or not, whether they're willing enemies or not, they're still part of the indoctrination program that is teaching your children whatever you don't want them to learn. So instead of going up to them complaining about sex ed, oh, they're teaching my children how to touch themselves and masturbate. They're talking about this, that, and the third at age 5. You know, it's disgusting and it's disgusting, right? They shouldn't be teaching your children that. But the best way to avoid it is to keep your children out of school. I know it's easier said than done. I'm doing it. My kids are homeschooled, right? My kids are homeschooled, and it's like the best thing we could have done for our children. And because our children have never been entered into the school program, it was very easy to homeschool my children. So that's the thing. If you have a desire to homeschool your children and your children aren't of school age yet, do not put them in the school system in the first place. Because at that point, it'll be very difficult and a lot of bureaucratic red tape to get your children out of that school. That's number one. So if your children aren't of school age yet, and you do not want your children to go to school, do not put them in school in the first place. Figure it out. Figure out how your wife can stay home, or figure out how your husband can stay home. However you got to do it, the best thing to do is to educate your own children the way you want them to be educated. All right? But anyway, moving on from that. So the police arrest this guy, right? The police arrest this guy who's talking about the Constitution, who's talking about human rights and this, that, and the third. You know, we have certain rights and this and that. And the cops didn't give a shit, of course, right? Because they're police officers. It's not their job to uphold the Constitution. That's what Brandon Tatum essentially said. He said that it's not the police officer's job to deal with the Constitution, to uphold the Constitution, to defend the Constitution. That's what he said. That's what he said. No, it's not. It's not their job. It's not up to them. You're supposed to go through the court system. Oh, go sue the school and all this, that, and the third, right? Oh well, you gave these politicians the power. You put them in office. You voted. You gave them the power, right? Oh, you gave them the power to rule over you and all this other stuff. So you got to deal with it. That's his attitude, right? That's his attitude about it. But I have to remind you that both politicians and police officers swear to uphold and defend the Constitution. They both do, right? When you become police officer, you swear in. You're swearing to you're swearing to serve the community. You're swearing to be held accountable. That's what you. If you go look at it, go look at the oath in the thumbnail that I put up. All right. I don't know if that's the universal oath, but that's I know at least one department. Listen, that's what your oath says for you to do. There's nothing in there about upholding laws, right? All right. Well, I know some swearing they have to swear to uphold the laws and the Constitution, which don't always jive. But first and foremost, you're supposed to defend and uphold the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. You understand what I'm saying? So, you know, that's as a police officer, that's your duty. So they should give a hot damn about the Constitution. They should be defending that person's right, that constitutional right to air out their grievances to that school board, right? But the Officer Tatum wants you to believe that police, no, we're not responsible for for no Constitution. We don't care about that. Well, you should, right? Because you swore. And don't forget, when you participate in activities that violate people's rights, you're violating 18 U.S. Code 241, 18 U.S. Code. Well, the politicians that create these laws, they're the ones who are violating 18 U.S. Code 241, right? Which is conspiracy to deprive the rights of the people, right? Paraphrasing. And 18 U.S. Code 242 is when you violate an individual's rights under the color of law, which is what police officers do every day on a daily basis. That's what they do. They violate people's rights under the color of law, and they should be placed on arrest for that. So when you say that no, the police do not have a responsibility to uphold the Constitution, you're straight up lying to your followers. You're lying to your supporters, and you're having them believe that the police are there just to follow orders, which really they are. Well, that's what their duty is. That their duty is to follow the orders and the edicts of the mayor, of this person, that person. You know what I'm saying? Unless you're like a sheriff, sheriff's an elected official, right? But you're still the sheriff's deputies take the orders from the mayor or from the sheriff. So a sheriff is kind of like the mayor of that part of the county, right? So to speak. So, but when you tell people that police aren't responsible for upholding the Constitution, that's a bold-faced lie. It's their duty. Even though they don't do it, it's still what they're supposed to do. So you're telling people they're not supposed to do something that they are supposed to do. And you already know you have a very impressionable audience of at least 1 million and some people, over 2 million subscribers, whatever he has. And that's why it's relevant. It's relevant what Brandon Tatum talks about because he reaches such a huge audience. It's very important. It's extremely important. It doesn't matter what Brandon Tatum says because he has such huge reach and influence, right? People want to kiss his ass, this, that, and the third. People are afraid of him. They're intimidated because he'll get on his live stream and talk about how somebody texted him, got his phone number, texted him, and how he's going to run up on him and beat their and do something to him. You know what I'm saying? So people are intimidated by that type of shit. And so you have to understand the influence, the intimidation. They're going to, a lot of people are going to believe in what the Officer Tatum says, or they're going to affirm their beliefs. He's going to affirm their beliefs that the police can do no wrong, that they're not supposed to defend the Constitution, which they damn well swear to do, right? When I joined the military, guess what I had to do? I had to swear to a similar oath, and much of it had to do with defending the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. So when the state violates people's rights, when they violate the Constitution, it's our duty to do something about it, not to go through court, not to sue a motherfucker. No, we're supposed to defend it on the spot. So every time a police officer arrests somebody for exercising their free speech, right, or shoot tear gas at people protesting, which I feel like is a waste of time personally. I feel like protesting, going to the school board meetings and talking about shit, I feel like that's just, you know what I feel like? You're asking your oppressor to stop oppressing you. You know what I mean? You know what? I think my audio's bad because it's connected to the car speaker. Let me do. So anyway, damn, this traffic is a bitch. So you see what I'm saying? You're telling people that police officers their duty is not to defend the Constitution. Their duty is to
enforce laws, right? And this whole thing about, oh, well, you voted them in the office, you gave them the power. I didn't give nobody no goddamn power. I didn't give nobody no power because I didn't vote. I don't vote. I don't vote for politicians to rule over me or to rule over anybody else. So, no, I didn't give anybody the power. The people that voted gave them the power. And when you say, oh, well, if you didn't vote and you have nothing to complain about, I'm sorry, I do have things to complain about because I didn't vote for the oppressor to oppress over me. See what I'm saying? It's the voter that's the problem, right? It's those who participate willingly in this in this system. When you vote, you're telling them, hey, look, I'm a willing and obedient individual who's going to I'm willingly oppressed. Go ahead and oppress me. Do what you want. Do what you will. That's what you're saying when you vote. When you go and vote for somebody, that's what you're doing. And when you vote, right? That this whole idea that we give these people power is asinine because those that vote against those people that end up in office, well, they didn't give them the power. They didn't want them in there. So what are you talking about? These people are supposed to be mere representatives, and they're supposed to, create laws that are in favor of the people, but they're not doing that, right? They're voting for laws that go against the people's will all the time, that completely violate the Constitution. First, Second, Third Amendments, Fourth Amendments, all these amendments are being violated on a daily basis by these politicians that we gave the power to. No, we didn't give them the power to violate our rights, but we sit back and willingly, we allow them, we're willing participants when we vote. We're telling them, okay, we're going to vote. If it doesn't go my way, then I'm going to sit back and let you do whatever you want. And that's pretty much what we got going on. That's why we're in the predicament we're in. That's why we can't get out of this shit. So when he tells people, police, they're not supposed to, whoever tells you that is full of shit, including Brandon Tatum. Right? Including Brandon Tatum. And though, if you are any form of follower, if you support Brandon Tatum in any form of fashion, and you real and you 100% and you honest, you should be reaching out to him and telling him this. Because if no one is, because he has this huge echo chamber over there. Huge echo chamber over there where he's at on this platform. Huge echo chamber. Any dissent is like, it's never even entertained over there. Like, I don't understand how he can feel comfortable with the views he has that aren't being challenged to his face. And when he is being challenged, his normal reaction is to act aggressively toward the person that's challenging him. Now, granted, the person that called him on the phone or texted him and wasn't supposed to have his number, that's violation. I agree 100%. If I didn't give you my phone number, don't be calling me. I don't know how you got my phone number. You know what I'm saying? That's violation. And he's sitting up here challenging me on my phone, in a way that you're not supposed to. I can see how that can be pretty upsetting. But if you challenge him even outside of that, it just doesn't. He's not one to be challenged. He's not one to accept challenge. He's comfortable with his echo chamber, and that's a problem. You guys are going to see how much of a problem that is in the near future. Not just with him, but with anybody in this world. Anybody that has a huge platform that isn't being challenged, that isn't being critiqued, that isn't being given constructive criticism, because all they hear is, oh, you right, you right, right on, Brandon Tatum, this, that, and the third, and all this. It's no good for him, and it's no good for the people that support him. because they don't get to hear any different viewpoints or different perspectives. And if they do, they shut their mind off to it because the people that they love so much aren't entertaining it. So why should they? What kind of world is that to live in? What kind of life is that to have if no one is going to challenge you? If there's no challenges and you're just coasting by, and people are going to, throw their lot behind you no matter what, even if you say some stupid shit off the wall shit, which is that to me, that was a stupid off the wall shit. The police aren't supposed to. We ain't got nothing to do. We ain't supposed to do nothing with the Constitution. We don't. What are you talking about? If anything, you know what I'm saying? If somebody wants to address a public office, now this is a public office, right? The school board. It's public school, public office, paid for by the people, right? You know what I'm saying? Or even the police department. You want to go to the police department, air out your grievances, go to the House of Congress, air out your grievances, to the Capitol building, wherever you want to go, wherever these public officials are, that hold public office in a public building. The police should be accommodating these people. They should be very accommodating. You got an issue with one of your people? You got an issue with your congressperson? You got an issue with your senator? All right, let me help you out with that. Let me make sure your voice is heard. That's what the police should be doing. Right? Right? That's what they should be doing. But it's not happening like that. You know why? Because they don't answer to us. Why don't they answer to us? Because they answer to the politicians. Why do they answer to the politicians? Because that's what we have allowed our oppressors to do. We have allowed our oppressors to take control of everything because we're too weak, we're too cowardice, right? We're too dumb to take control of our own lives. We're too comfortable. Well, you see what's going on around the world, right? Prices are skyrocketing. Supply chains are being broken. You know what I'm saying? Delays in this, delays in that. I can't find no goddamn. Listen, man. It's a whole. All this shit is a chain reaction. It's a domino effect. Because we have given up so much of ourselves, so much of our control, the control of ourselves and the control over our families, the control over our children's education. Now we don't know what the hell to do with ourselves. Let's say we fought a revolution, right? And in 2 months, let's say we just topple everything. We get our revolution, boom. 2 months, 2 years, however long it takes. Because they have been educating our children, right, for so long, and because they have removed slowly all the crucial things that we need to learn about life, right? Shop classes, woodworking classes, skilled trades, right? They don't encourage that anymore. They want you to learn how to code, right? People don't know how to build anything. People don't know how to obtain and maintain resources. So even if we want a revolution, well, what are we gonna do? How are we gonna get shit going? Right? Are we gonna be able to cultivate the land and harvest and all this other stuff? Are we gonna be able to keep these nuclear plants going? Because guess what? You can't just let the nuclear plants just go, right? Because there's so much nuclear waste that has to be handled in a certain way, right? Do you guys know that? Like they have these bars, right? These nuclear bars and nuclear plants that they use to power up certain parts of the country that have to be cooled in a certain way so that the radiation doesn't emit, right? There's certain processes and redundancies that have to be met. There's all kind of things that we have to be prepared for if this system goes down. But because we are not educated to the point where we can be self-sufficient in case this shit goes down, a lot of us going to have problems, right? We can do it. We don't need to, listen, at the end of the day, we don't need the government to learn how to build roads, to maintain these nuclear power plants, to do all these things. You understand what I'm saying? But we have to ensure that the people that have that knowledge are willing to pass it down to their children and to other people's children. You understand what I'm saying? They're slowly dumbing us down to the point where we won't be as every year goes by, we're becoming less and less able to be self-sufficient, to be without the government, right? That's why you have so many people that say, well, what about the schools and what about the hospitals? What about the bridges? What about the roads without government? Well, that's irrelevant. Sorry about that. Anyway, y'all get what I'm saying, man. Y'all get what I'm saying. Brandon Tatum told you that the police are responsible for upholding the Constitution. Well, yes, they are. Just because they're not doing it, just because the Supreme Court said that they don't have to protect and serve and do all this other shit, doesn't mean that that's not what it is. All right, but I gotta get out of here, guys. I gotta handle a phone call. Like, share, subscribe, whatever, and I'll holler at y'all later. Peace.